There's no reason for a lantern to be glowing in the middle of unmarked forest land, especially not one that floats between trees, then vanishes when you chase it. But if you ever find yourself on Cutter's Ridge after dark and see that light moving just ahead of you, do not follow it. My name's Drew, and I've hiked solo since I was 19. I'm 32 now. I've done over 50 trails across the U.S., from Zion to the Adirondacks. But the one place I will never return to is a stretch of wilderness in southwest Colorado known as Cutter's Ridge. It's not marked on most tourist maps, but locals know it. It's steep, dense, and mostly forgotten. I found it through an old trail forum. A user had uploaded a GPX file with no description other than beautiful terrain, avoid after dark. I thought it was a joke. I planned to hike it over 3 days. Mid-September, no snow yet, perfect temps. I carried a Garmin beacon, food, solar charger, .45 pistol, everything I'd ever need. Day 1 went smooth. I barely saw a squirrel, just forest, cliffs, and the quiet kind of peace you only get that deep in. The first night, I made camp off-trail near a slope of dead pine. Around 2 a.m., I woke up needing to pee. I stepped out of the tent and stretched, and that's when I saw it. A soft orange glow between 2 trees, maybe 200 feet off. It looked like a lantern, not a flashlight. A lantern, flickering like flame, moving slowly left to right. I thought maybe it was another hiker, but I hadn't passed anyone all day. "And who still uses lanterns?" I called out. "Hello?" No response. The light stopped for maybe 3 seconds, then vanished. I scanned with my headlamp, but nothing was there. I waited a bit, then went back inside. Chalked it up to sleep haze or weird moonlight. But the next morning, I found something odd. My map was missing from my gear pouch. I always fold and clip it under my tarp bag. I searched everywhere. Nothing. That made me a little uneasy, but I had my GPS, so I kept moving. Day 2, late afternoon, I noticed something else strange. There were scrape marks along the trail. Not claw marks, not animal. Long, parallel scrapes in the dirt, like someone had been dragging a metal rake, or maybe the base of a shovel. I followed them for half a mile. They led slightly off the trail to a clearing, and right there in the middle, stuck upright in the ground, was my missing map, folded into a tight square and stabbed through with a long stick. I didn't understand how that was possible. I had camped over 5 miles away the night before. I checked the map again. Someone had circled a spot farther west in red pen. I didn't make that mark. I told myself someone must have found my map, returned it as a joke. A creepy one, but still a joke. I shouldn't have gone toward the circled spot, but I did. By sunset, I reached the ridge marked on the map. It overlooked a steep drop, thick with brambles and dead trees below. I pitched my tent just off the ridge. I kept my pistol beside me that night. Around 1 o'clock a.m., I saw it again, the lantern. But this time, it was closer. Maybe 80 feet away, bobbing gently behind a stand of trees. It didn't sway like someone was holding it. It floated steady, moving left, then pausing, then turning toward me. I stood frozen in the tent opening. The light didn't move closer, but I felt like I was being watched. I called out again, shakier this time. "Hey, you okay out there?" The light winked out, and when I turned around, my tent had been unzipped. My gear was still there, but my knife was gone. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. At first light, I packed up and started heading down. My GPS kept losing signal, jumping coordinates every few minutes. I tried to backtrack using landmarks, but somehow I'd veered off the original trail. That's when I found the old campsite. It was a sunken ring of blackened stones, long abandoned, but there were 2 rusted lanterns on the ground nearby. One was broken. The other still had old fuel residue inside. And beside it, half buried in dirt, was a decomposed backpack. I didn't open it. I didn't want to know. But scrawled into a tree trunk above it were the words, "Stop following the light." I finally found the trail again by late evening and practically ran the last 4 miles to the road. I never reported what I saw. Not the lantern, not the map, not the campsite. But sometimes, even now, I check that trail forum, and just a few weeks ago, someone posted a photo from the same area. In the background, behind their tent, there's a faint orange glow between the trees. They say the woods are quiet, but that night, something was digging. Slow, methodical, just outside the tent. No footprints, no creature sounds, only the earth being scratched, clawed, pulled. And when morning came, it wasn't just dirt that had been disturbed. My name's Eric, and every fall, my brother Luke and I go hunting in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. This was our 10th year doing it. Just the 2 of us, deep in the woods near Lake Superior. We camp out in a spot we found years ago, an old logging clearing with a small creek nearby and thick pine trees all around. We bring minimal gear, tent, rifles, food, and a radio with spotty reception. On the second night, Luke was already asleep when I heard it. At first, I thought it was just an animal, maybe a raccoon or a bear digging for food. But it wasn't random or frantic. It was deliberate, slow, like someone was digging a hole. I shined my flashlight toward the tent flap and crawled out quietly. The sound was coming from all around us, under the tent, near the creek bank, even between the trees. I grabbed my rifle and stepped outside. The moon was just a sliver, barely lighting the forest floor. The digging sounds stopped. The air was heavy, cold. I checked the perimeter. No footprints, no signs of animals, just fresh holes, narrow, deep, and oddly shaped, dug in perfect circles all around our camp. Luke woke up when I moved some logs to get a better look. the hell?" he whispered. That night, we kept the fire burning and took turns staying awake. The next morning, we found the holes again, this time closer to the tent, and the soil was disturbed in strange patterns, almost like someone was trying to bury something, but stopped halfway. Later that day, Luke found a small, broken wooden box buried near the creek. It was old, like decades old. Inside were rusted nails, some dirty cloth, and a faded photo of a little girl with a crooked smile. We both got an uneasy feeling. The photo was probably left by someone who had been here long ago, but who? And why bury it near our camp? That night, the digging returned, louder, more frantic, but this time it was coming from beneath the tent. We looked under the tent floor and found a shallow pit. Inside it, fresh dirt and scratch marks, like claws trying to escape. I swear, something had been trying to dig its way out. Luke wanted to pack up and leave immediately, but I convinced him to stay one more night. We set up motion sensors around the camp, aimed at the holes. Around 2 a.m. the sensors went off, but the noise was different. Not digging, but a heavy, dragging sound. I grabbed my rifle and rushed outside. The fire was out. The tent flap was open. No sign of Luke. I called his name, but only heard silence. Suddenly, from the tree line, a figure appeared. Crouched low, dragging something. I aimed, but the figure vanished into the darkness. By sunrise, I found Luke's rifle near the creek, but no sign of him. The holes were still there, but deeper now. I left everything behind and ran back to the nearest ranger station. They said people had gone missing in those woods before. Hunters, campers, some never found. I don't know what was digging at night, but I know one thing. Don't camp in those woods, because something waits beneath the dirt, beneath the surface, digging.
Leave this room alive.
Camping alone near an old fire tower deep in Washington's forest, I heard a child humming just beyond my tent. But when I looked, no one was there. That night, I found small handprints in the dirt, and a faded photo no one should have left behind. My name is Rachel, and I'm an avid hiker and camper. Last September, I decided to spend a few days in the wilderness near Mount Rainier National Park. I picked a campsite close to an abandoned fire tower that locals call the Silent Watcher. The tower hasn't been used for decades. It's rusty, half-collapsed, surrounded by thick evergreens and thick underbrush. I set up camp early afternoon, feeling the calm of the forest, away from city noise and crowds. That first night, after a quiet dinner, I sat by the fire reading a book when I heard it. A soft, childlike humming coming from the fire tower's direction. Curious, I stood and listened. The sound was faint but distinct. The humming felt haunting, like a lullaby, long forgotten. I grabbed my flashlight and cautiously walked toward the tower, my steps crunching on fallen leaves. On the lower steps of the tower, I noticed tiny handprints in the dust, clearly fresh. No other footprints led to or from the tower. A chill ran down my spine. I returned to my tent uneasy but tried to calm myself. The forest was eerily silent, except for the occasional hoot of an owl. Late that night, my phone battery died and signal vanished. The next morning, I found a folded Polaroid photo tucked beneath my tent's tarp. A boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, smiling faintly, but with eyes that seemed hollow, almost lifeless. I showed it to a park ranger who looked pale and told me a local boy named Jamie went missing near that tower in 1992, never found. That night, the humming returned, louder, and now mixed with soft footsteps just outside my tent. I unzipped the flap and shone my light. There stood a small boy, pale and silent, his eyes fixed on me without blinking. I asked gently if he needed help, but he didn't answer. He simply stared. Suddenly, he slowly faded, becoming almost transparent until he disappeared completely. Frozen, I zipped the tent and hurriedly packed. As I hurried down the trail, I stumbled near a hollow log. Looking back, the boy appeared again, sitting silently, humming the same lullaby. His gaze was distant, but unsettling. I didn't dare stop. I reached my car before dawn and left that place behind. Years later, the humming still visits me in my dreams, a soft, haunting reminder that some spirits linger, forever watching, forever silent.